Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Jaliali in this incarnation. Well, today we have the full moon in Scorpio. These are very moving days in the emotional level, in many levels actually. So the square with Pluto and Aquarius could express as aspects in tension inside of ourselves or resistances to aspects of the reality. But the main thing with Pluto is about, understand that we are ceding the power and to take it back. The marvelous thing about the Scorpion energy beyond the transforming power and the necessary purge that is offering us, it is that when we can let go the fear of seeing our shadow, to knowing that we have aspects that operate in an unconscious way, that is precisely the door to recognize it. The light is the consciousness. We can also illuminate through the reflections in the reality and in people, but the presence is the method that allows us to do an instant detection in this precisely in this moment, in this here and now. In fact, illumination is the presence of the consciousness in a constant way. We all have moments of illumination. It's just that most of us we come back to the patterns of the mind. When the conditioned mind is taking place, we are disconnecting from consciousness. That's why it is a practice. But this idea that it is an unattainable state is coming from an old paradigm, mainly dogmatic. And at the same time, this is a practice that is not searching for anything special beyond what we are experiencing right now. And with this, I am not saying that the retires and other practices cannot be useful. All of them are tools. Astrology is a tool. The knowledge is a very powerful tool that serves us to accompany our process and to develop consciousness. But this axis, Taurus, Scorpio, is telling us that the assimilation has to happen also in the level of the body and in the level of emotions. Because the mind could think that we already transcended something or that we have integrated that, but the body, just like the nature, has this ancestral wisdom to show us what we need and where we are and what we are. So, in fact, not hearing the signals of the body because the mind is not finding logic in them, or because we grew up with the programming of ignoring them. Many of us grew up with this conditioning. Is what many times takes us to assume paths that I don't like to call them incorrect, but they have very painful lessons. A very common example is when we meet psychopathic or narcissist people without consciousness of that. The body tends to repel presenting illnesses or in a state of alert every time. So that's why spirituality of the age of Aquarius is not a meditative state in which we are leaving the body and we don't need the matter and I am flying away. It is about inhabiting everything but walking like the middle path. Because in the extremes there are the attachments, which is something very linked with Scorpio. An example of this could be food, something very, very linked with Taurus. We could feel the pleasure of eating something. The pleasure of the senses is something very linked with Taurus. But when I am falling in the excesses because I am sad, I want to cover certain emotions, or on the contrary, like Buddha, and on purpose, the full moon in Scorpio is very associated with Buddha. It is called the Wesak or Vesak. I don't know if in English it is called like that, because it is said that Buddha was born and was illuminated and died in full moons in Scorpio. So, Buddha, it was like punishing his body. He rejected the body because he thought it was the path to elevate himself in a spiritual way, but he found out that it wasn't, because he was rejecting a part of himself. So we could apply this to many aspects, to the pleasure itself, because Taurus is the consciousness of the pleasure. We the pleasure doesn't mean we don't have to feel it to be spiritual, but at the moment that we want to feel pleasure just to avoid pain, just to avoid the voids, the emptiness, that becomes a polarity, and that many times creates addictions. The same would happen on the contrary, but our society has always has have this tendency of hedonism. So, however, when we are talking about addictions, there are also paradoxes there, because when we cannot stop feeding thoughts that are not collaborating with us, or behaviors that are harming us, there is no pleasure in that, and that could still function in the automatic pilot, and that's why the consciousness helps us to illuminate that. And this is the reason that I mentioned this in the video of the full moon. The more we practice not judging, and this is a very challenging practice. I've been doing this, and I am not there, I am not in the radical acceptance of everything, but I am detecting how the mind does it every time, and how we can change it, by seeing it. So the practice of no judgment with ourselves and with the others, of course, it is very important, because judgment causes shame and causes guilt. And when we are feeling that way, we have the tendency to push the shadow, to repress it, and to not wanting to see it. So acceptance is the path, loving acceptance is the path for the true change. Well, I am ending the video here. Thank you, everyone, and see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.